Okay, now that we're done with the header, let's go ahead and create our restaurant card. I'm gonna comment this out so that every time we will save and re-render this component, we won't get console log here. So clearing that Command K or Control K, and I'm closing this. So let's create a restaurant card under components. So here, restaurant card.js. So let's import all the defaults. So React from React. Import maybe just the view for now from React Native. Review the view rather in text from React Native. And create a restaurant card component. So restaurant card equals, so let's keep the props or the parameters empty for now and return view with a text that says restaurant card, just so we know that that's working. Don't forget to export default restaurant card. Okay, now we have to import this card. Let's get rid of that here so that we can see the changes on this screen as we code thanks to fast refresh. So I usually separate all the libraries from my custom components so it's neater. Okay, so Command Shift import // component / restaurant card, and I can just say card here. So whatever you want, because it's a default import and a default export, and say card here. So self-closing. Now we have restaurant card here. So I'm not going to get rid of the hello world just yet. So the first thing we need to do, let's go back to our mockup. So the first thing we need to do is to create this card here, which is just the container. Okay, so going back to our code, we have to import style sheet so that we can style our component. And we have to create a rounded rectangle that's big enough to contain all the information we need for our restaurant. Okay, so let's get const styles equals style sheet dot create. So this is a common syntax. Let's create card container style. That's just going to contain a width and a color. So again, I gave a lecture on the device width. So it's good that the card could be, the width could be in relation to the actual size of that device that you're running the app on. So to do that, we can again invoke our dimensions from React Native. So don't forget to import, because we're going to get an error if you don't import it. To dimension, so const, we need the device width. I'm just going to name it width for now. Math.round, or you can just go ahead and copy paste, but good to memorize the essentials. So window, and we need the width. Okay, so card container will contain the width. Okay, I'm just going to stick with device width. So the good thing with having format.save, so we can just put your code anywhere you want. Okay, let's add a background color. So I wanted to be purple. That should be 829BFE. Again. And for that to be visible, you have to invoke this in the view. So styles.card container. Save. And now you get this very, very small device width here. So you only got the width, but not the height. And we have the text called restaurant card. And close to this. So according to our design, the background should also be darker and I forgot to add that. So in our home screen.js, we should change the background color to something of a darker purple instead of white. So the hex code for that color is 6C5CE7. There. So it's shaping up to be the Food Central app that we've drawn in our, or we've seen in our demo, in our mock-up. Now going back to the restaurant card, I digressed. So this width should not be the entire device's width. So we can just subtract a certain number, whatever we want. Let's make it like 25, so that it looks like it does not stick to the actual width of the device or the edges of the device. Next, so there's going to be a lot of styling for this container, so we need to make it bigger. So let's make the height 200, height 200, save, and now it's formatted the way we like it. Okay, so the edges are a bit rough, so you want the edges to be rounded. So let's add border radius of 20. Now it's a bit rounded. Now you can see the edges are beautiful. And we'd want to add a shadow here. So shadow color is black. So 000. And let's give it a shadow offset, so that's how far the shadow is going to be. So width of 5, height of 5. Let me see what that looks like. So it's still not visible. Let's give it a shadow opacity of around 75%. So it's a bit transparent. An elevation of 9. Okay, so now you can see the shadow. It's a bit dark, but it gives our card a bit of texture. And let's give it a shadow radius of 5. Save. Okay, so it has this faded effect here, which is great. So it looks good. So we're done with our actual card. But now, as you can see, because we made the edges a bit rounded here, the text exceeds that. So we have to as well style the text, as well as all the components inside. So going back to our mock-up, we should start styling first the image before we can style the texts and the icon labels. So I'm going to get a sample image. I'm going to add it to my assets folder. So again, as I've mentioned, your assets folder will contain images, fonts, etc. So it already contains the default icons, the splash screen, etc. So let me just copy from my file system real quick. So this is the assets folder. So this is our Food Central app. And I'm going to paste the image here. So it's central-perk.jpg. So it's just a restaurant. So this is the coffee shop restaurant that we will use. So since we're still designing things, we can just cherry pick one of the list of restaurants that we have, and to use that to help design our card. Okay, so first we have to import an image. So to do that, we have to, I'll get rid of this. So we have to import image from React Native. I'm just going to get rid of this restaurant card text, save that. Okay, now that's neater. And then To import an image in React Native, you can just put image here in a self-closing tag, and source equals the path of that image. So we're going to require, so if you want to add an image from the file system, you have to use require and then pass the path of that image as a string. So dot//assets and centralperk.jpg. Save. So it's too big. So we have to, and the card is missing, and it's the screen is not equipped to handle this large image. So we have to also style that image. Okay, so let's fold card container to make things neater, and let's style that image. So let's call this style image style. So this is good. So this style can be reusable if we export this styles, or if we add multiple images to our card. Can make this reusable. So let's just limit the height for a sec. Let's put the height at around 100. Let's see how that looks like. Don't forget to import the style here so you can see the changes as you save and as you code. So styles.image style. Save. And 100 is it's too small. So let's make it 130. Okay, so it looks pretty good. Okay. So we have to take care of the width, because the width of the image extends beyond the screen of our app and it's not visible to the user. So this is where device width comes in handy. So we subtracted 25 from the device width for the card itself. So you have to subtract more than that for this image. So we can make width device width. So if we say 25, just like our card, this is what it'll look like. So it's kind of okay, but it's not too rounded. To make the edges rounded, we don't want this bottom here to be rounded, but you want the top left and the top right of the image to be rounded. So to do that, you can add border top left radius. Same with, well, actually, if you want to do that, you can just add a variable called const radius here, and it should be 20, and that can be used for our card and for our image as well. So there's just one. So assigning it to a variable top right radius, assigning it to a variable makes the code easier to read and more maintainable. So if you want to change the radius to 10, it applies to all sides of the card, including the image. Okay, so I'm just going to put that back to 20 to emphasize it more. Okay, it looks better with 20. So I want to change the opacity of the image, the transparency of that image to something so it wouldn't be too dark. So if you put 0.1, so it's 0.1 opaque, so it's just too light. Let's try 0.7. Okay, too light, 0.9. Okay, 0.9 it is. So it's not too distractingly bright, but at the same time, it's still visible, like all the colors are still visible. Okay, so that's our image. Okay, so that's the image part of this card. I'm just going to get rid of this bottom panel. So that's Command J or Control J to get rid of that. Or you can just look at view, appearance, and here they are. Okay, so that's image, and now Next part is to add the text here. So that's the title of the restaurant. So the restaurant name. So that's just a simple text. And let's just say this is Central Perk Cafe. Okay, so now since it's below image, it's neatly after, so the text is neatly after the image, but it's also like sticking at the left part of it, and we wouldn't want that. So I'm just folding the styles here so we can style our text now. So you want the text to be bigger because that's the restaurant title. So let's say title style. So let's give it a font size of 20 and add the style to the text so you can see it on the screen. Styles, title style, save, and now that's bigger. And let's make it a bit bold. Let's give it a font weight of say 200. Too thin. Maybe a font weight of 800. Yeah, that's better. So now it looks more visible. Next, you could add a category. So these are the list of categories for that restaurant. So for this, that could be like has pastries, coffee shop, etc. So again, this is a text component with, let's say, put dominated bakery. It's not even a bakery. Pastries, cafe, sweets, bread, because coffee shops sell that. And then let's create. So I don't know why they're always folding, but every time I save. But let's create the category style here. Category style. And then let's give it a font weight that's thinner. So it's not similar to the rest of the label. So the title is a bit thick, but the font weight of the categories are thinner. And then let's just add a bit of margin on the left here for both text. So we can add a separate view here to encompass all the text and then apply the same styles, to them. Okay, view. You can just get rid of that and do it again. View. There. That's going to encompass these two. Excuse me. And then let's give them a style, like all the restaurant information. There's going to be a style to it. That's just, I'm going to add a bit of space here. So I'll add margin horizontal. So it adds a margin on the left and on the right side. So that if this is a long text, it's not going to stick to the right side. Margin horizontal of, say, probably 10. So let's see what that looks like. Style equals styles.info. So this is a restaurant info style. Okay, good. So it's not sticking at the left side. And if this is gonna be long, say lorem ipsum dolor sit amet. Quick brown fox. Okay, so it's not sticking to the right side. Cool. Okay, get rid of that. And next, we don't want to stick to the top side either. So you want to add a margin vertical. So that's for the vertical. So the top margin and the bottom. There's also margin top and margin bottom, but if you want one line of code for both, you add margin vertical. Let's say 5. So it's just a little bit of space there so it looks neater. Okay, looks good. Okay, finally, we're gonna add an icon and a label. So this is for our pins, map pin here. So going back to our mockup, so we're done with the text. We're done with the categories, which is just a list, comma separated list. And now our next thing is to add this icon label here, which is also a separate component. In our next video, we'll create the icon label component that we will add to our application. See you then!